Shock Monkey Radio is entertainment for adults, by adults, and the views and opinions expressed here do not reflect upon the sponsors or FXBG Public Radio. For additional information, please refer to the United States Bill of Rights. Stand warned. What did Caveman dream about? Last week, I had a dream about time travel, but cavemen didn't have science fiction to read like we do. So what did they dream about? Obviously, they might have had dreams about the time they had to fight a saber-toothed tiger. Or perhaps they dreamed about killing a mammoth in cold enough climate that meat doesn't spoil all winter. Or maybe they even dreamed about finding the perfect rock to tie to a stick for a weapon. Those cavemen may not have had the language, and perhaps they've had dreams about being able to communicate effectively with other cave people. Perhaps they dreamed about having a language. Maybe the caveman dreamed about an anthill he saw, and dreamed about getting enough cavemen together to perform tasks in tandem with each other like ants do in order to make a structure like an anthill. Or perhaps they just dreamed about cavemen. Uh-oh. Is this power strip on? I'm losing power. All right. Perhaps they just dreamed about cave women. Now, doubt they ever had a dream about time travel because they had no context. Time wasn't even a concept back then. It always flowed in one direction, so there was no reason to think about it. After all, they had to find shelter and hunt an animal every day in order to stay alive. But there must have been people who dreamed about inventing a language or building a big wooden henge. Or better yet, a stone henge. Throw in a straw henge and a big bad wolf, and you got the beginning of a nursery rhyme. Welcome to Shock Monkey Radio. I'm your host, the Madman. I had power issues. My laptop was about to die. All right, we got it all sorted out now. Welcome to Shock Monkey Radio. EK's in the background, as you see. And I want to remind you that of Patreon. Go over to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron. I appreciate it. $3 a month, and with inflation being the way it is, the prices have never been lower. I also have a Cash App if you want to send money to me through Cash App. The cash tag is Shock Monkey Radio. All one word. I would appreciate it. Okay, so 2 days ago, I got my 100th subscriber on this YouTube channel. Yay! It only took 4 years. And so I want to remind you to tell your friends, like, share, and subscribe to this channel. You know, share out my videos, share out your favorites. And if you remember, 4 years ago, I put out a video called Empty Promises, 27 March 18. So almost 4 years to the day, we are here at 100 subscribers. And if you remember that video, that means that Eric, EK the DJ, has to shoot me in the butt with a BB gun. Now, I brought the BB gun, all right? And so, I mean, there's plenty of BBs. There's plenty of BBs in here, but I doubt you'll take more than one shot because...
I'm not doing this.
Why?
I'm not going to shoot you on camera for the internet.
Why? That's how you get, like, more subscribers and stuff.
That's how you get blackmailed.
Oh. Well, but so you're going to make me a liar. He's making me a liar to you people. So you're supposed to shoot me. Come over here and shoot me in the butt.
I don't think that's legal. I don't think I can. Even if you ask me to, I don't think I can.
All right. You're witness. You are my witness now, viewer. I'm not the one
watching. I need to know I have full culpability in this situation.
EK's making me the liar. I'm not the one who backed down. All right. I would have taken a shot to the butt from the BB gun, but EK just wussed out. So, sorry, dear viewer. You're not going to see me get shot in the butt with a BB gun, as I promised. Then again, the title of that video was Empty Promises. Now, I will say one thing is that there was one person who would have held me to these things. And, you know, it always makes me sad when I think about it. And I think I should bring it up because it was like 2 years ago, we lost the Hill Hippie. He passed away. And he would have been the guy to definitely shoot me in the ass with a BB gun. He would have held me to that standard. And so, but I mean, I think about that, and it makes me a little sad because I miss him. He was a good friend. And, but at the same time, I know EK wouldn't shoot me in the butt because he's that good of a friend. Find yourself a friend like I have in EK the DJ. I will say something else is that, I've been watching this other channel a lot lately called Windagoon. And, he's a bit long-winded for my taste, but he does some interesting videos about like conspiracy theory iceberg. So I watched this whole series that he did. It was like, 30 hours of videos on the conspiracy theory iceberg, where he goes through all these different conspiracy theories. And during the course of making this series, he went from like 800 subscribers to like 700,000 subscribers over that period of time. And I'm just like, it's like, how? And I see like how he censors himself and like hedges his bets when it comes to the things he says. But additionally, when it comes to channels that are not like mine, that grow very quickly, it seems to me that there's a lot of talking down to people. So I don't like doing that. I like, when I make an Always Sunny in Philadelphia reference, I'm going to assume that you know it. If I make a Big Bad Wolf reference, I assume that you know what I'm talking about. I don't assume that my viewers are idiots. I don't assume you're an idiot. All right. And I think that's, I don't know, a little bit better. A little bit, I don't know. I think it's better. But thanks for the 100 subscribers. Tell your friends, like, share, and subscribe. Some more, and we'll just move on with the show. So those of you who are around my age, remember those first generation Transformers. But do you remember an Autobot named Perceptor? He was a robot that changed into a microscope. Not a great microscope, but still a microscope. And I was thinking that particular Transformer, that was the coolest thing that could ever happen to a microscope. Think about it. Shockwave was a boombox that changed into a robot. Boombox cool, robot cool. Megatron was a gun that changed into a robot. Gun cool, robot cool. Perceptor, microscope not cool, robot cool. All right? And every other Transformer was a sort of, had a sort of lateral move between the things that they changed into. I had Megatron when I was a kid, and mostly I played with him in gun form because the actual toy robot was stupid looking and not nearly as cool as the cartoon Megatron. I had a friend who had Perceptor, and he never transformed him into a microscope because microscopes are not fun to play with. I wonder what Hasbro was trying to do. It's like that scene from Big. I don't get it. What's fun about playing with a building? Also, how often do Transformers need a microscope? Are there many biological threats to Autobots? Hey, Optimus Prime, this room is teeming with E. coli. We're robots, Perceptor, and the humans are in sealed mech suits. Thanks for being useless. Autobots, roll out. And then Perceptor has to say, I need a ride. Because let's face it, most Transformers changed into vehicles and very few needed rides. It's like they went out of their way to make Perceptor into a useless nerd, just because he changed into a nerd toy like a microscope. I don't know what they're thinking at Hasbro in the 80s. Sir, market research shows that scientists do not buy Transformers for their kids. However, microscopes are very popular in that demographic. Maybe it was that, or maybe it was the cocaine. There was a nerd Transformer. That's all I'm saying. I need to wet my whistle here. Here in my car, I feel safest of all. I can lock all my doors. It's the only way to live. So I want to talk about road rage a little bit. Specifically, my road rage. Now, I don't get it as much anymore because now I am properly medicated. But back in the day, whenever I drove for more than 15 minutes, I road raged hard. My blood pressure shot up into the atmosphere. You ever seen that Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode where Mac and Dennis moved to the suburbs and Dennis is commuting to work? Idiot, savage, idiot. Hey, it sure is a hot one today. Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah, that was me on the roads. Now, here's a couple of funny incidents that happened to me on the road that put things into perspective for me. Here's the first story. I was stuck in traffic once on Halloween, and I was fuming. I mean, you could have cooked grilled cheese on my forehead. I was hot, livid. Then a van changed lanes and pulled in behind me. I looked in my rearview mirror, and I saw the driver was dressed like a clown. I reacted with a jolt because it was the last thing I expected to see when I was angry. Then the cloud noticed my reaction and made a goofy clown hoo-hoo kind of face at me. And I laughed super loud at that, and it relieved all the pressure that I had put upon myself. And the rest of my commute was calm and serene, even though the traffic did not change. I was the one who changed. I know it's goofy and stupid, but it mattered to me. All right, here's another story. I was driving into a parking lot, and this lady in another car cut right through the parking rows and cut me off, and I had to slam on the brakes. She saw me at the last second, but it was too late because she was committed. So I started spinning up, yelling at my windshield, "Idiot! Savage! Idiot!" But soon, I had to find a parking spot, and she parked near me. I always feel a little bit better once I exit my car, so my rage subsided a little bit. But the woman came up to me and apologized, saying she didn't see me and it was a mistake. And I was looking at her, and she was owning up to her mistake. And instantly, I forgave her, and I said, "It's okay. Don't worry about it. We all make mistakes. That's why pencils have erasers." And I've thought about this moment a lot since then. Her apology and my response spoke volumes to me. It doesn't really matter, considering how lucky we were not to meet in a high-speed collision. My rage at her served no purpose, because if she came up to me and said, "F you too, pal," it's not like I would have gone off on an angry rant citing the Norse gods, and it's not like I would have kicked her ass. The incident was over, and my rage did nothing but put stress upon my blood vessels. One last story. Once I was speeding in the left lane and came up fast on a car that was only going the speed limit. Again, I got furious. I started ranting alone in my car. "Get in the right lane if you want to go this slow. Idiot! Savage! Idiot!" Then I jumped angrily into the right lane and started speeding past this savage idiot, planning to glare at the driver as I passed. But as I got alongside them, a dog popped up in the open window, looking curiously at me with their tongue and bandana flapping in the wind. Instantly, I softened and shouted, "Oh, look at you, buddy. What a cute puppy." And I forgot all of my rage. The last blood-boiling 30 seconds were gone. And that's when I first started thinking that my hatred of humans was personal and a biased vendetta. It's way harder for me to be angry at dogs, even though the dog was not driving. It's weird. You ever seen that video of the two dogs barking and growling at each other from behind a fence, and then the human opens the gate and then they start sniffing each other pensively? That's us. That's us humans in cars. Here in my car, where the image breaks down, will you visit me, please, when I open my door in cars? Now, I know this may not have been what you expected from me. Perhaps you hoped for a story of me getting into a fight on the side of I-95. But that kind of thing never happened to me. Even if it did, it would not serve anyone for me to tell a story about about a time when I lost my battle with my anger. All right, we got one more thing to go before we get into the news. So I had a chance to go to Woodstock in 1994, the 25th anniversary of the original Woodstock. In 1994, I was 17, and I was working as a busboy at Carlos O'Kelly's, and a bunch of the hot chicks were trying to take work off that summer to go to Woodstock, and they invited me, but I declined. You know, remember, this was 1994, and I hated grunge people and grunge music, so most of the bands that were scheduled to be there I didn't like. Don't get me wrong, there were some bands I would have liked to have seen. Blues Traveler, Collective Soul, Blind Melon, Aerosmith, the Cranberries, Allman Brothers, and the Red Hot Chili Peppers. But I decided not to go, even though I probably could have banged one of my hot coworkers. But when they came back, they told me everything that happened, and I found out that I had made the right call. First of all, they were stupid for even buying a ticket, because apparently only one in three people that were there even bought a ticket. All right. They told me that there was security there trying to stop people from drinking and doing drugs, which is ridiculous for frickin' Woodstock. But also they tried to stop people from bringing in their own food. They said it was super commercialized and the vendor prices were super high, like NFL high, one of the girls said. Which I assume she means like if you go to a professional football game, it's like they're those prices. All right, they also said that like on the first day, some jackass performer shot a rifle into the air from the stage. The second day, they said it started raining and the whole thing became a mud fest. They said people threw mud at Primus, which is disrespectful if you ask me. And no, I understand the point. I know which awful song Primus was known for. They said it just became this giant mud party, and it just sounds horrible to me. I made the right call. But most of all, I was pissed at the commercialism. The security not allowing not only alcohol and drugs, but friggin' food too. Now, this is the point of Woodstock. This is the difference between the 1969 Woodstock and the 1994 Woodstock. In the 1969 Woodstock, the corporations, the music corporations, didn't get their hooks into that 1969 Woodstock, but they sure got them in Woodstock in 94 and ever since. And that's what irritates me. When you're having like all this security there and, it's trying to stop people from drinking and doing drugs and make sure that they pay the exorbitant prices that were at the vendors, that seems un-American to me. And it seems like non-festival like. I understand when you go to these concerts these days, the ticket prices are crazy. The vendor prices are crazy. I get it. And that's just the way it's been. It's the way it's been. But in 1994, I wanted to go to a Woodstock that was like the 69 Woodstock. A few days of peace and love, without being bombarded by all the commercialism, that is, I guess, America's, flaw. And that's what bothered me about it. I would have liked to have gone, but I'm glad I didn't because of the way it sort of corrupted the thing. It reminded me of like Jesus. Going into the temple and finding all the people vending. In many ways, like Woodstock is kind of like a temple that worships, music, like great music of the era. And, it made me think like if I went to Woodstock in 1994, I would have made a whip out of cords and started overturning the money changing tables. You know what I'm saying? Because it seems disrespectful. Seems disrespectful to the idea of Woodstock. Anyway, I feel like I made the right call in that regard. And so that's just a little story I thought about the other day. I was thinking about how those hot chicks said, hey, you want to go to Woodstock with us? No. Grunge is awful. No. Well, we're going to go ahead and get into the news worth knowing. No news is bad news, I guess. All right. So let's talk about Ketanji Brown Jackson. All right. Biden's Supreme Court pick refuses to define the word woman. President Biden's Supreme Court nominee, Ketanji Brown Jackson, refused to define the word woman on the second day of her confirmation hearings before the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee. Senator Marsha Blackburn from Tennessee pressed Jackson on transgender issues Tuesday night. Quote, do you agree that schools should teach children that they can choose their gender? Blackburn asked, after she read a quote from Jackson regarding Georgetown Day School, the private school on whose board Brown serves. Jackson responded by noting that Georgetown Day School is private. When Blackburn pressed again, asking the judge for the judge's opinion, Jackson said, Senator, I'm not making comments on what schools can teach. Blackburn then turned to quote the late Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who wrote the majority opinion in U.S. versus Virginia in 1996, in which the court struck down Virginia Military Institute's male-only admissions policy. Quotes, supposed inherent differences are no longer accepted as a ground for race or national origin classifications, Blackburn said, quoting Ginsburg. Physical differences between men and women, however, are enduring. The two sexes are not fungible. A community made up of exclusively of one sex is different from a community composed of both. Quote, do you agree that Justice Ginsburg with Justice Ginsburg that there are physical differences between men and women that are enduring, the senator asked. And she responded, Senator, respectfully, I'm not familiar with that particular quote or case, so it's hard for me to comment, she responded. Quote, do you interpret Justice Ginsburg's meaning of men and women as male and female? Blackburn pressed. Jackson did not comment on that matter. Can you provide a definition for the word woman? The senator asked. Can I provide a definition? No. Jackson responded, I can't. You can't? Blackburn asked. Not in this context. I'm not a biologist, the judge replied. Quote, do you believe in the meaning of the word woman is so unclear and controversial that you can't give me a definition? Blackburn pressed. Quote, Senator, in my work as a judge, what I do is I address disputes. If there's a dispute about a definition, people make arguments, and I look at the law and I decide, Jackson said. Blackburn argued that the fact you cannot give me a straight answer about something as fundamental as what a woman is underscores the dangers of the kind of progressive education that we are hearing about. And that's all I want to read of this article. And, you know, stop these proceedings. She's clearly unqualified. Clearly. And this isn't even the worst thing. All right. They're also asking her questions about like child pornographers that she had passed lenient sentences on. This is not even the worst thing. All right. Additionally, Ted Cruz went after her for critical race theory as well. All right. This judge is clearly not qualified for the job. If you need to like do extensive study, consult a biologist, and read the law to understand what a woman is. All right, I don't know if any of you have seen that interview of Little Boosie where he went off, but it is excellent. It is excellent. These are the basic facts of life. And the idea that some people are trying to change the very concept of very simple definitions of like what a man is and what a woman is, you know, that shows a level of insanity, an attempt to alter reality through language that is perverse and insane. This woman is clearly unqualified. And if Kamala Harris has taught us anything, is that if you just pick a candidate based upon their skin color or their gender, you know, these are not the requirements that you need for that position. All right? Your hair color doesn't make you a better lawyer. You know what I'm saying? That stuff is ridiculous. Anyway, so I'm pissed off that Senator Ted Cruz made that big sign. And it was like, that. Did you use our taxpayer dollars to make that sign, to make that point, Senator Cruz? Yeah, I'm on your side. I'm a Republican too. But that's a waste of money. Why can't you just say it? Oh, my God. And so that's why we need to stop these hearings. She's clearly unqualified, and the Biden administration needs to make another pick. All right? And it just irritates me how much money they waste with nonsense like this. It's like, Senator Cruz, come now. That was expensive poster you made. All right, let's go on to this next story. Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov issues chilling warning about direct clash with NATO. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov warned that if NATO sends peacekeepers into Ukraine amid Russia's invasion, it will lead to a direct military clash between Russian forces and the alliance. Quote, sending NATO peacekeepers to Ukraine would lead to a direct clash between the armed forces of the Russian Federation and the alliance, Lavrov said Wednesday morning, according to a Russian state news agency, TASS. U.S. Ambassador to United Nations Lia Thomas Greenfield on Sunday ruled out the possibility of the U.S. taking part in peacekeeping operations inside Ukraine, stating that the Biden administration will not send U.S. troops into the country. Quote, the president has been very clear that we will not put American troops on the ground in Ukraine, Thomas Greenfield said. We don't want to escalate this into a war with the United States. Quote, but we will support our NATO allies, she said. Biden has made clear that if there is an attack on any of our NATO allies under Article 5, that we will support those countries and defend those countries. The Polish outlet onet.pl, onet.pl, reportedly gained access to a secret project at Poland's Ministry of National Defense aiming to deploy peacekeepers from a number of NATO countries to Ukraine. Warsaw is expected to officially present it to the NATO summit on March 24th. The U.S. will not participate, but they may agree to a mission involving some other countries. Lavrov's warning suggests that Russia would consider the presence of NATO peacekeepers in a military escalation and a cause of war against the alliance. The war has dragged on for about a month as Russia's superior troop numbers have run into unexpectedly fierce Ukrainian resistance. The battle in the southern port city of Mariupol has grown increasingly fierce, while cities like Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, and its second city, Kharkiv, are effectively under siege. Russia has also targeted cities in the west of the country, not far from the border with Poland, where more than 2 million of Ukraine's 3 million refugees have reportedly fled. All right, so here's the thing about Russia. All they have are threats right now. They can't even take over one small country in Europe. All right? And that's why they're making these threats, because they know if the U.S. gets involved, it's over for them. It's over for them. You know? Two carrier battle groups, and it's over for them. You know, we wouldn't even necessarily have to put boots on the ground. We just start providing air cover for the Ukrainians, and they will take back their country. That's all it takes. Few U.S. drones, few U.S. sorties, and it's over for Russia. Russia talks a big game. They want to pretend that they're a first world power. And yeah, they have nukes. Yeah, they do. And we should be wary of that. And that's why we have been hesitant to, get any more involved. But at the same time, in a conventional warfare kind of state, they're not really doing very well. You know what I'm saying? Additionally, when you have like an authoritarian state like that, corruption and lying to your superiors happens way more than it does like in a free country like the U.S. When you threaten people, under penalty of death, they're just going to, be yes men. They're going to say whatever you want to hear, but then do something else. And plus you have like things like a bunch of people like leaving the military, Russian military, because they don't agree with this action. Because, these soldiers, they thought it was like, oh, we're going to be liberators of Ukraine. We're going to be welcomed with open arms and stuff like that. And then they're finding it's like, oh, even the citizens are arming up against us. All right. You want to pretend like Russia is some great big power because of the landmass that they control, that they're really spread quite thin. Their initial offensive into Ukraine got them bogged down very quickly. All right. And then they had to summon troops from other locations, which makes their borders and stuff weaker. All right. And considering the losses they've sustained so far, if NATO gets involved, if the U.S. gets involved, they're screwed. So all Russia has is threats, and the only real worry is are we going to push them to a wall, push them to a point where they may use nukes or chemical or biological warfare? That's a serious concern. So we need to allow an out for Putin, but Putin's getting up there in years. I wouldn't be surprised if it comes out in the next year or so that he has brain cancer or something like that. It wouldn't surprise me. All right. But we have to provide a way for Putin to gracefully exit this horrible decision. Anyway, just me and my BB gun against Putin. Let's do it. This is my rifle. This is my gun. There are many like it, but this one is mine. All right, let's go on to this next story. Who will stand up for me and other women being beaten by biological males like Lia Thomas? So this is obviously kind of an opinion piece. But it's important nonetheless. Quote, as a collegiate, I'm quoting somebody else. This is not me talking. As a collegiate female athlete, I think I could safely say that I wasn't alone in being utterly dismayed to see a biological male, UPenn's Lia Thomas, trounce all the female competitors at the NCAA Women's Swimming Championship 500-yard freestyle on March 17th. I am a runner for Southern Utah University. College competition has its share of difficulties, obvious and not so obvious. But eventually, you find your groove, mentally and physically, making new friends among your teammates, placing in meets, and setting new personal bests. For female athletes like me, it's all worth it, not just because you become a stronger, more confident person and competitor, but because of the pure joy that comes with working as hard as you can and doing your very best. Maybe you just won a medal or took a few seconds off your best time. Perhaps you pushed one of your teammates to run faster in place too. There's just no feeling like that. The first sign that this all might be changing came the day our coach told us that a Montana male student who first competed in the men's division will soon be running against us in the women's division. We were shocked. It didn't sound real, and I wondered how this could possibly be happening. After all, with a man's build and strength, a biological male athlete could probably have a big impact on our races. And since I'd be running in the most of the same races, I knew I'd be facing a particular challenge. How much of a challenge became clear to me the first time we lined up against each other at the cross-country meet. As I looked down the starting line, the athlete's 6'4" frame seemed to tower over the rest of the competition. This athlete was a full foot taller than me. You're crouched at the starting line next to a half dozen other girls about your size, and then you see a biological male athlete looming beside you. And those muscles. And you know, this isn't fair. It isn't right. To me, this was the first reminder of many that if things don't change, racing was never going to be the same. None of the female athletes quite know what to say or how to respond to this, but almost all of us mention it among ourselves. And almost to a woman, they agree that this isn't right. That became even more clear when, in one of our races, the biological male athlete's time pushed one of my teammates out of the all-conference title. My friend didn't say anything, but it hurts badly to lose an opportunity that you can never get back because of something that is so obviously unfair. 2 years ago, in 2 races at the Big Sky Indoor Track and Field Championships, I ran against the same biological male athlete who came in 15th place in 3,000 meters with a time of 18 seconds better than mine, nudging me out of the top 25. In the mile, this athlete took first, beating me by 22 seconds and keeping me out of the top 15. If you watch that video of the mile run, you'll see the biological male athlete came in a full 4.5 seconds ahead of the nearest competition and didn't even seem to be breathing hard. All right, there's more to this, but you get the idea, right? These guys are cheaters. They're mediocre athletes in their proper divisions. And so they all of a sudden I'm a girl today. And so they start competing against women, then they start blowing them away. And that's cheating. That's cheating. The IOC the IOC may say is like, we don't want doping, quote unquote. We don't want doping. But that's the point. When you have like testosterone coursing through your blood, against a bunch of competitors who do not have that, you are cheating. That's a hormone. You are cheating. It reminds me of what's his name? Andy Kaufman. Andy Kaufman, when he would go around to these wrestling matches and say, oh, I'm smarter than a woman, I'm stronger than a woman, no woman could beat me, and he's wrestling them and stuff like that. First of all, he knew how to play a villain. Number one, you get all the females against you, and then probably about 50% of the men against you as well for, being cruel to women. That's being cruel to women. All right? Those women, when you got to understand, it's like once these women said, hey, we want to participate in sports too, we said, well, we got to put you in another division because the times and scores that men have are just eclipse women's times and scores. It's like even like in wrestling and boxing and UFC, there's weight classes. You don't want a 6'9", 250-pound guy fighting a 150-pound, 5'8" guy. It's just not fair. And these guys are cheating in order to like get themselves into a better school, get themselves some sort of like a sponsorship deal, or get to even professional sports. They're cheating for their own personal gain at the cost of women who go out there every day doing this right and competing on fair terms with everybody else. It's like the Flash showing up to the track meet and everyone's like, this doesn't seem fair. At least get Superman to race him. Anyway, it really irritates me that, women generally are kind to a fault. They are kind to a fault. They want to be understanding to somebody who's going through some gender confusion issues. Women are great that way. That's what I love about women, is that they are kind to a fault. But there's got to be some testosterone. There's got to be a big set of balls in the room to say, no, you have a set of balls and you shouldn't be in this. Get out of the pool, as little Boosie says. Get out of the pool. Anyway, let's rant about Russia some more. This next news story. Brittney Griner, forgive me if I got that name wrong, could spend up to 5 years in a Russian labor camp, experts say. So get this, U.S. Olympic gold medalist and WNBA champion Brittney Griner could face up to 5 years in a Russian labor camp after she was arrested in the country last month, an expert said. Griner, a 31-year-old Phoenix Mercury basketball star, has not been seen since she was arrested in Russia last month after Russian officials allegedly found vape cartridges in her luggage and accused her of attempting to smuggle drugs in the country. Russian law expert Peter Maggs of the University of Illinois College of Law predicted that her pending legal case could result into a 5 to 10-year prison sentence, which could also include time spent at a labor camp or a complete dismissal and exportation from the country. Sorry, had to answer that. All right. Quote, you're talking about 5 years, not jail time, but a labor camp, he said. One thing I find a little worrisome is this extension of her preliminary holding from 2 months to 3 months because you have to go to a higher authority to get it lengthened. It is illegal to bring all sorts of drugs into the country, Russia, including cannabis oil, Maggs said. The law professor also speculated that Griner could be completely innocent of the accusations against her, as Russian authorities have been known to plant drugs on people to arrest them under false pretenses if the regime wanted to get them in trouble. We don't know what really happened, he added. The WNBA released a statement that called the international arrest extremely difficult, but added that they are working closely with the U.S. government to get Griner returned safely. Quote, this continues to be a complex situation and extremely difficult for Brittney and her family, who are all hoping for a swift resolution, the statement said, according to Reuters. Our number one priority remains her safe return. So, here's the thing, when you're traveling through international, places, you really shouldn't have stuff that, other countries would consider illegal. Because the last thing you want to do is go to jail in any other country than the United States. The United States is so lenient on criminals that you really don't want to go to jail anywhere else. I'm giving you a signal. So, all right. And so you don't want to be traveling. It's like, I know if like, I have a prescription for this. Yeah, but in the United States. Your prescription is not necessarily valid in Russia. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why Russia would plant drugs on a WNBA star. I don't see what they could possibly gain out of that. But, I don't know, perhaps trying to make Russian Supermen or something. I don't know. But it just, you got to be careful when traveling abroad with items that can be considered illegal in other countries. All right, first of all. Second of all, Russia is a country full of assholes. All right, no offense, Russians. But, I mean, in general, it's like, they're not as liberal as we are. We are very liberal and tolerant in America. And unfortunately, people like Brittney Griner need to go to places like Russia to understand that fact. That's what I learned when I was in the Navy, traveling to other countries and seeing like, wow, every other country but the United States is pretty much a shithole. Seriously. Anyway, we got two more stories just to lighten up the mood before we get out of here for the week. So Hilary Clinton is trolled on Twitter after requesting movie suggestions following a COVID diagnosis. God, I love the internet. So former Secretary of State Hilary Clinton met with ridicule on Twitter Tuesday after asking her followers for movie suggestions she and her husband could watch while they quarantine at home following her positive COVID-19 diagnosis. Quote, well, I tested positive for COVID, Clinton, 74, wrote in a tweet. I've got some mild cold symptoms, but I'm feeling fine. Good for her. In another tweet, Clinton noted that her husband, former President Bill Clinton, 75, tested negative and is also in quarantine until the, quote, household is fully in the clear. Quote, Bill tested negative and is feeling fine, she wrote. Because it's not like they're touching or kissing each other. It's not like you'll ever get close enough to her to get it. She wrote, quote, he's quarantining until our household is fully in the clear. Movie recommendations appreciated. So, in response to this, Juanita Broderick, who publicly accused Bill Clinton of raping her in 1978 while he was an attorney general of Arkansas, urged the former first lady to give her husband her book about the alleged incident instead of watching a movie. Quote, maybe give him a book to read. Broderick wrote, along with a picture of the book, some ice on that, How I Survived Being Raped by Bill Clinton. That's the name of her book, Juanita Broderick. Many users, such as comedian Tim Dillon, recommended that the Clintons watch Primary Colors, a 1998 film starring John Travolta. The movie, directed by Mike Nichols, was based loosely on Clinton's 1992 run for the White House and features a charismatic politician with a wandering eye whose wife is very ambitious. Others recommended The Plot Against the President, a documentary from filmmaker Amanda Milius, that purports to present evidence of a conspiracy against former President Trump. Turning Point USA tweeted in response, Murder, She Wrote. Excuse me. That was from Turning Point USA Chief Creative Officer Benny Johnson. Many users, including Republican New York City Council member Joe Borelli, recommended that the former Secretary of State watch 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi, a 2016 action film starring John Krasinski that recounted the harrowing 2012 attack against the U.S. consulate in Benghazi Liberal. Clinton faced intense criticism at the time for the Obama administration's response to the attack, which led to the death of U.S. Ambassador Chris Stevens at the hands of Islamic radicals. Quote, how is it that each and every single response, not impeachment, American crime story? Asked journalist Aura Bogado, echoing many other users. The latest season of the FX series recounted the Monica Lewinsky scandal, which led to Clinton's impeachment in 1998. Journalist Kyle Becker tweeted simply, the guilty. God, I love the internet. I mean, when you're somebody like Hillary Clinton, I mean, you got to expect that a certain amount of that. You know. You can't murder all the people who don't like you. And, I think there's like most inventions, the internet is a double-edged sword. There's good things about it. There's bad things about it. This is one of those good things that I like about it. Now, you get into this last story and then we'll get out of here. New York City hotel doorman helps foil attacker who allegedly punched a 9-year-old girl, says, I'm not a hero. Not showing off. I just showed up. Neil Johnson, the doorman at the Plaza Hotel in New York City, is being hailed as a hero after he detained a man who randomly attacked a 9-year-old girl. Quote, first of all, I'm not a hero, Johnson said on Fox and Friends First Wednesday. There was a situation, and I showed up. Johnson told host Carly Shimkus, I don't watch that stuff, that he heard a man screaming, which wasn't initially a cause for concern, but then he heard a woman screaming. He ran to the woman and found her with a child and a baby carriage being followed quickly by a man who was gaining ground on them. She told Johnson the man had assaulted her daughter. Rahim Ramsaran, the 27-year-old suspect, allegedly punched the young girl unprovoked. Johnson said it was cleared Ramsaran was mentally ill. Quote, I turned towards the guy and started yelling at him not to move, Johnson said. Johnson and another man stayed with Ramsaran until police arrived and took him into custody. He said Ramsaran remained calm when approached by police, which kept the situation from escalating further. Johnson's run-in with the attacker came as New York City's crime rate in February of 2022 jumped 58% overall compared to February of 2021. The New York Police Department reported that every major crime index category saw an increase. Quote, New Yorkers deserve better, NYPD Commissioner Keeshant Sewell said. Despite Mayor Eric Adams' deployment of additional police officers, New York subway crime reportedly skyrocketed more than 200% in the week following the new crackdown efforts. Fortunately, Johnson said, Ramsaran did not have a weapon. Johnson, however, said he never feared for his own safety. Quote, when you hear a woman screaming and when you see the visual of a woman with a baby carriage and a little girl running away screaming from a guy, you just got to help, he said. Good for you. And, you know, it's not like he had to fight this guy. He doesn't say anything about, like, a confrontation or a fight that happened between them. He just confronted him. You know, sometimes you don't have to show off. You just need to show up sometimes. And that's what this is what this guy did. He did for his fellow human being. And more people need to do that, especially in an era where the police aren't doing a damn thing. You see all these videos of people like us just snatching stuff out of the store and walking out the front door. I just wish more civilians would kick the crap out of them. Now, I know it's probably not the right thing to do, but, you know, it's like I said, you know, in a place like New York or like or San Francisco or something like that, and you got a riot and people trying to break into Gucci, and you know, 200 people are storming in your store to raid the shelves, and if you had a gun, you don't need to shoot them all. You need to shoot one or two, and then boom, they're all leaving. You know what I'm saying? There's a deterrence factor when it comes to that. You know, and this guy was lucky that this mentally ill guy didn't have a weapon, you know, but who knows, you know, what could have happened. It could have been way worse, but it takes a lot of guts. It takes the intestinal fortitude to stand up for the right thing. And I wish more people would do that. I wish more people would stand up and do the right thing when it comes to dudes swimming in, you know, in NCAA women's finals. All right. To, you know, some lady screaming on the streets of New York. We all need to take part in that idea to help your fellow human beings whenever you can. Anyway, this is going to be the end of the show. I want to remind you again to go over to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron. I would appreciate it very much. $3 a month, not that much. You can also advertise with us there. I would appreciate that. You can also send me money through the Cash App. Use the hashtag ShockMonkeyRadio, all one word. I would appreciate that. And if you're interested in reading my books, I have books available on Amazon. Search for the author Scott L. Robbins with 2 T's and 2 B's. I really should make a graphic for that sometime. Maybe I'll do that this week. Scott L. Robbins with 2 T's and 2 B's. I got the Bunny Years, a memoir. I got the Ravings of a Madman. And I got the 3 Eggs at 13 books. Be sure to check those out. Real cheap. I would appreciate that as well. And so this has been Shock Monkey Radio. I'm your host, the Madman, and I love you.